Welcome back to Tightwad Workshop. I'm an Australian, and all Australians are required by law to always own these two pairs of shoes. After 3 years of wear, these Ugg boots need some new insoles. I'll start by making some index marks on the rubber sole. This will help me align the uppers with the soles when I'm gluing the boots back together. First, let's finish tearing the soles off these boots. In truth, there wasn't much left holding them together. I'll peel off these last few pieces from the rubber sole. Now I'll use scissors to cut off the insole. The insole is just sheepskin glued to a piece of cardboard. Now I'll snip off the remaining pieces of insole. The upper's actually in good condition. Those black marks are just wool fibres from my socks. I'll use this leather to make new insoles for the boots. I salvaged it from an old leather lounge chair that was dumped on the side of the road. The rough side will be glued to the rubber sole. I'll use the rubber sole as a template for marking the leather. This leather's thin enough to cut with scissors. These spring clips work well for holding the upper to the new insole while we sew them together. Use the index marks to get everything positioned correctly. Then use the clips to hold the boot together. I'll use this crochet thread to sew the upper to the insole. These needles aren't strong enough to punch holes through the leather, so we're going to need to make an awl. One of these cheap darts will make a great awl. Once I've unscrewed the fletchers, it looks better, but it takes a fair amount of force to punch through the leather, so it'll need a bigger handle. I'll start by sawing off a piece of this broom handle. Now I'll drill a pilot hole in one end. That's not very straight, but it'll be good enough for our purposes. Now I'll drill the hole out to the diameter of the dart body. That's not bad, but it'll be better if we taper this area a little bit. I'll use a chisel to cut the end into a taper. That feels pretty good. Now we'll just need to sharpen it. I'll use our sharpening station to sharpen the awl. We want the point to be more tapered and to have a four-sided profile. I've found that a four-sided point punches through the leather more easily than a round one. Now I'll cut a length of thread and thread a needle onto each end of it. This process used to be easier when I could actually see the eye of the needle. Now we're ready to start stitching. First I'll make a hole with the awl. Now I'll push one of the needles through, then pull the thread until I've got the same length on both sides. I decided it was better to use this cork block than to punch holes in the workbench. Once you've made a hole with the awl, you just need to pass both needles through the hole, one from each side. The thread got tangled up for every stitch I recorded in this clip. I eventually found that a piece of scrap wood overhanging the edge of the bench was an easier way to make the holes. When you get back to the starting point, just push the final needle back through the first hole. Then pull the needles off the thread and tie a knot to finish. That looks pretty good from this side. Now we can apply a layer of contact cement to the rubber sole. The glue is a bit old, but it should still work. Apply another layer to the underside of the insole, then leave it to dry for a few minutes. Once it's dried to tacky, very carefully bring the two halves together. Use your index marks to make sure everything's correctly aligned. I started at the toe and then rolled the parts together towards the heel. Now we just need to press everything together firmly and we are done! That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Tightwad Workshop is filmed in front of a live studio audience.